Kia ora students, if you're here watching this tutorial, you should be trying to find out how to write a really good example. And remember, this is for written text, not for film. Okay, so remember the point of this essay, we are arguing that the setting of Dulce et Decorum Est is important because it communicates the horrors of war to the public. When we look back at our plan, the first point that we came up with is that setting is important because it paints a picture for the reader. So it's all about communicating that imagery. So here's the example that I came up with. Owen writes that the men are walking through the mud of the front line till on the haunting flares we turned our backs. This example does three things. It tells the reader what was happening during this moment, and that's this bit here. The men are walking through the mud of the front line. So instead of quoting 3 lines from the poem, which you're never going to remember in an exam, I have paraphrased what Owen had written, and that word looks like this, paraphrased, and that means that I've put it in my own words. Because it's not inside those quotation marks, you can see that I came up with that, not Wilfred Owen. Okay, so it tells the reader what's happening during that moment. The second thing is it paints a picture for the reader, and that is the actual quote itself. So I'm letting Wilfred Owen's words do that because I can't do it better than him. And it has to paint a picture because that was my point. So remember, you look all the way back up here, that was my point. It's about painting the picture for the reader. And most importantly, because of that, it proves our point, okay? If we're saying that the setting paints a picture for the reader, we have to find an example that does paint a picture for the reader. And that is it there. Doesn't matter if you don't quite understand that example right now. In the next tutorial, I explain, because it's the explanation tutorial, I explain that quote. All right. So that should be pretty clear. If it's not though, especially because of the language of the poem, please do re-watch that little bit of the tutorial. Okay, so that's it. That's how you write an example. Remember to go back over those really important points. Make sure that your example does these 3 things. Okay? It has to tell the reader what's happening. It has to do whatever the point said it was going to do. And most importantly, it has to prove that point. So these 2 things, 2 and 3, really link together quite closely. Okay, remember, pause, rewind, fast forward, write down notes and questions. Remember, this is a written text essay. Those examples do not have to have techniques. If they do, that's fantastic. If they don't, that's okay.